Hello, hello, hello. We're back. It's Writer's Block Memoirs with Miriam O'Gara Kilmurry, and you're really welcome. This is a rainy June in 2025. Unfortunately, we're having a little bit of an issue with Wi-Fi and things like that in my new location, which was very good for a while, and then I don't know what happened. They dug up the roads and they changed all of the fiber and what have you, and for some reason now we're having issues. So please excuse me, I've got no green screens at the moment. We're just going to have to do it as we are. You've got to take me as I am. And we're going to have a chat today, if you don't mind, about memoirs. So if you're interested in writing your own memoir, if you're interested in sitting down with someone in your family, how do you approach this if you want to write their memoir? If you want to write your own memoir. So just to kind of lay out my own credentials. First of all, I was a professional singer for many years. I was a stage actor for about 6 years. My background is also in language teaching. I have 2 degrees in literature. I have a diploma in fiction writing, novel writing, and I also have diplomas in humanities. Various things that feed into the writing process, shall we say. Very arts orientated. But none of that will help me write a memoir. Why? Because if you aren't born with this single thing, which is empathy, the ability to put yourself in the stead of the person that you are writing about, be it yourself or somebody else, then it is going to be extremely difficult for you to be successful as a memoir writer, or to have any kind of passion or love for it. If you're an actor, you will find this a lot easier. The transition from acting to writing, it isn't really a transition, because most actors, they're dealing with text all the time, and invariably they're invited to write episodes of things, as I'm sure you'll have noticed on a lot of your favorite programs. So you are all the time courting the writing process once you're a performer. So what is the difference between, for example, a biography and a memoir? Well, first of all, your biography is going to walk through the decades of someone's entire life. And it'll be a step-by-step process, which is very analytical. You have to be very precise with your dates. It's going to line up with maybe anthologies, newspapers, reviews about different things, other people's work. It's a different beast. Where your memoir is about an experience. When you write a memoir, you're going to focus on a specific experience. And you're going to focus on the lead up to it, and you're going to focus on how you've come out of it and the story so far. But it is an experience, not the entire life of the person. And that's really, really important to understand. It's going to be an experience that you focus on. That is a linchpin. Now, you could break that experience into 2 parts, which is what I did with my own personal memoir, which I wrote now, some time ago. I'm on a second one at the moment, Tehran Calling. So we have there my father, we have my mother, myself, and my 9-year-old sister here. And then on the cover, I also have the Shah of Iran at the time. And this was a memoir about my family's double escape from Tehran. And when I say double escape, what I mean is when my last parent, my final parent, passed away, I realized there were 2 escapes from Tehran. One in 1978 and one in 1979. So there was my mother, my sister, and myself in 1978, and there was my father 5 months later in 1979. So the experience in that situation is revolution, divided into 2 parts: my mother, my sister, and myself, part 1, and my father in part 2. And that's perfectly legitimate. It's a great way to do it. But I could have done it another way. If it was another type of scenario, if it was, war, for example, or World War One or something like that, and you wanted to talk about it, you've got 5 characters. You can just break it into 5 different parts. So there's still the one experience, but how you go about relating the story, narrating the story, the vehicles, they are endless. But it's still the one experience that you're talking about. And the 5 people, it's not 5 biographies that you're writing, it's their experience of that event. That's the difference. That's the difference. So you can probably hear my husband is marking exams in his office and his cat wants to... She's not happy that she can't go in. So excuse her in the background. That's Gizmo. Yeah, you're not coming on the table. So that is the main difference. You've got a biography, which is one thing, and a memoir, which is an entirely different thing. Now, some people try to do a blend. It's not impossible to do that, but for that, you need an extremely good ghostwriter. You really do need someone who's highly skilled if you're going to do something like that. If you're not aware that the two are generally held as separate, well then you're at a disadvantage from the beginning. You really are. So I'm just going to give you an example of the type of approach that you can take to writing your own memoir. So bear in mind that today, and particularly since the end of the last century, so from the year 2000 on, your commuter lit became very, very popular. So if you think about the average person having only in the region of around, let's say, 15 to 20 minutes, possibly at the outside an hour, but that's very unusual, you're looking at 20 minutes to a half an hour. 15, 20 minutes, half an hour would be the usual train times or tram times that people have, where they could maybe in the middle of that journey whip out a novel and read a chapter. So that means your commuter lit chapters are, generally speaking, very, very short. That's very good. That really helps you out if you're trying to set up your memoir, because what you can then focus on are those little things that you know will hold the attention of the reader from the very beginning. I'm going to give you an example of what I mean. I advise a prologue. A prologue gives people a taste of what's to come in the book. And I'm going to just read the first line of my prologue, which might give you an idea. So we're not talking about the author section or about this book or notes from the author or anything like that. We're talking about the prologue. And my prologue, I really wanted it to be very sensory. And so it read, Tehran Calling prologue. The sweet smell of Iranian babari bread, a taste completely new to me in 1978, remains more vivid now than any memory of the time. That's the extraordinary thing about smells. They attach themselves to significant events, and all the more so with children. So that was my first few lines of my prologue, which for me it was very important. Getting the smell of the babari bread in to get the senses going with the reader. And then once I then went to chapter 1, well, chapter 1 is extremely short. I'll just see if I can show it to you here. So we have first page, second page, third page. And that, my friend, is my chapter 1, which I'm going to read a little bit for you now of. So, Tehran Calling, chapter 1. Tehran, City of Lights, present day. You mean your family escaped the Iranian Revolution twice? The French woman looked at me aghast. Yes, I answered. She wasn't buying it. How is that possible? What would an Irish family be doing in Iran, and why on earth would you want to return again now? I put her slightly offensive undertone down to her inebriated condition. Madame Busybody, as I had come to regard her, boarded during our set down in Geneva, and despite her questions, kept nodding off under the influence. Thank God, I muttered. By now it was getting dark and my eyes were fixed on the Iranian mountain range still visible from my port side window seat. It should be coming into view very soon, I told her. The Air France A320 suddenly hit a bank of turbulence. Mrs. Busybody flinched. I placed a reassuring hand on her arm. Don't worry. That's normal. We're over the Alboritz Mountains, which means we are very close to landing. A pang of childlike excitement rushed straight through me as the fabulous lights of Tehran city sprawled across the plateau below me. My eyes strained as I pierced hard right out the window. The aircraft had cleared the mountain range and there she is, the Paris of the East, the Tehran of my youth, Tehran, city of lights. I pointed out the spoke-like boulevards and small streets that led to Tehran's core, and what I used to know as the beautiful Shayad Square. In 1926, New Tehran was modelled on the grid system familiar in European cities and was most like Paris, a city which I myself had lived in from 1986 to 1989, a country I had returned to live in again in 2007. I waited and waited. Any minute now. Then suddenly the aircraft banked hard left and my heart began pounding. I had made a promise, and now I was making good on it. I was back. That's my first chapter. So hopefully the person will want to go on to chapter 2. So, in other words, keep it short. Give them a sense of excitement. Let them enter into the situation and find out why it is you're going back. Why is she going back? Why is this a big deal? So, another one of my own biographies was about, it was a more academic one, this one, Ireland's World War I war poet, Francis Ledwidge. That was a very important first biography for me. It was based on my master's in English, and I just made the language a little more accessible and turned that into my very first biography. So both of those are available on Amazon, by the way. So when you're actually, and they are two completely different kinds of biography as well. So when you are making something accessible to someone, the first thing you have to do if it's a memoir is you've got to say to yourself, can I put myself in the stead of that person? Do I have the empathy? Because if you don't have the empathy, if you cannot, in other words, let me put it more clearly. If you're writing an actor's memoir and you're employed by them to do it, or their children have got in touch with you and asked if they could have you write the memoir as a ghostwriter, the thing is, you've got to be able to remember that that actor is known for a particular tone to their voice, a rhythm pattern, and when you're writing, you have got to replicate that. If that is not there, nobody will trust your work. No one will trust anything that the blurb on the back is not going to help you. They've got to feel that they're hearing the voice of that person. That requires the actor's ability to mimic, to feel the rhythm, the sound, and be empathetic as well. It's extremely important to be able to do that, to achieve the voice that you need for that particular memoir. Otherwise, write a biography. So I'm going to leave you with that for the moment. That's from my perspective, you need to be clear that there are two completely different types of book. You can either write a biography about your grandmother and their experiences, or you can, which is a chronological account of their lives, okay? Or you can draw the reader in with a memoir. Take a piece, and actually that is sometimes where people really want to go, because very often they haven't got all the details on the to be able to do the chronology for the biography, and maybe a lot is lost, but they do know a particular story that they want to save. And that's where you can bring in all your skills from novel writing and fiction, because very often you may need to combine a few characters into one in order to make the story work, which is perfectly plausible, perfectly acceptable, and something that you're allowed to do, particularly in terms of not being able to find the person anymore. Maybe someone has died, maybe someone's living in another country and you can't trace them, and you can't get their permission to use their name as another character in the memoir that you're writing. If it's not possible to get hold of that person, well, then you are allowed to combine characters into one and give that person another name. It's perfectly acceptable to do that. So I will love you and leave you. We're going to come back to this again. I hope to be able to get another video up next Thursday, and we'll take it from there. I'm sure there are people out there who are interested in writing memoirs. If you're interested, get in contact with me. I'll see you soon, and welcome back to Writer's Block Memoirs.